Welcome to Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of the Nonprofit Technology Conference 2015. We're hosted by N10, the Nonprofit Technology Network. We're at the Convention Center in Austin, Texas. My guest is Lauren Girardin. She is a marketing and communications strategist, Lauren Girardin Consulting. Lauren, welcome back.
Hi, thanks, Tony.
It's good to see you. We were together in NTC 2014.
Yeah, we were.
All right. Your topic this year is Don't Panic, how to embrace emerging social media with infinite majesty and calm.
That's right.
Very important, avoiding shiny object syndrome in social media. Is that not true?
It is to a point. I like to encourage people to avoid shiny object syndrome, so using something just because it's new isn't the right approach. But the idea is to experiment bravely. So by avoiding things that are new, we often miss out on what opportunities there might be. So if we experiment a little bit, it doesn't have to be a full commitment, we can actually find out a new way of doing things or being noticed or reaching new audiences.
I like that phrase, experimenting bravely, but not fully in.
Right.
It's experimenting.
Right.
Okay. Before we start to talk about some of the sites that we will, like Snapchat and Tinder and Whisper and Secret, which I'm very much looking forward to because 3 of those 4 I don't know. How do we evaluate when the next one comes out, whether it makes sense for us to experiment bravely?
So the question that we're often asking ourselves is the wrong question. The question we ask is, should we be using Snapchat? Should we be using Tinder? That's not the right question. So we actually have to think about what the right question is. And the right questions will depend on your organization, but very broadly are, what are you trying to achieve? Who are you trying to connect with and engage? What are you trying to learn? Because a lot of these emerging social channels give us a way to learn something new. And also then, what actions are you asking people to take? And is that an action that they can do because of that channel? So you have to think about the right questions as you're evaluating these new social channels.
All right. Is it possible to be? Well, who should be involved in these questions and answer sessions for new channels?
So that's a really good question.
Good, cool. All right. Already only 3
I
minutes.
know, I hadn't actually
only
thought
2
of
minutes in. I'm already good question.
I know, I hadn't thought of that one before because when I think of experimenting bravely, I think of sort of the person looking out into the horizon on their own. It's almost, it's not an isolated practice, but it's something to do that doesn't need a committee, that doesn't need a big meeting, that doesn't need a big strategy behind it. And so I think the person that should be involved is the person that's most comfortable on these channels. So someone who has used these channels for their own personal reasons. So sometimes the first step of experimenting bravely is to use the channels for yourself and then use them for your organization. And then to bring it to people who are open-minded about new channels, who can see potential rather than seeing negativity. So folks who are involved with your audiences directly are often the best people to have, rather than folks who are not out in the community.
Oh, okay. So maybe some of your program, your program folks.
Program people,
Really?
policy people, fundraisers, anyone who is engaging with people and who can actually ask folks, hey, take out your phone, tell me the apps that you have there. Let me talk to you about the kind of information you'd like to see from our organization on these new channels. Sometimes it's really that anecdotal evidence that can help us make brave decisions about social media.
Okay. Anything else you want to suggest about the general and the evaluation before we get into some actual channels?
Yeah, the evaluation on the newer channels is particularly tough because nonprofits are looking for metrics. We're looking for measurement. We're looking for numbers to make our case. And a lot of these channels just simply do not provide those numbers. They either don't have any analytics built into their system, or the analytics they have are not particularly revealing for nonprofits. So one of the things we need to allow ourselves is a little bit of uncertainty in this evaluation. We may never know the exact demographics of the people that we're reaching on these new channels. And so what we need to do is just take a guess and start playing around, really.
If we're not looking to engage in or younger, let's say millennials, should we still be looking at emerging channels?
I argue
Millennials or younger even.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I would argue yes, because, a lot of people say, oh, it's just teenagers that are using these. And that's what we said about Facebook when it launched is, oh, this is just something for college kids. What does this have to do with me and my organization?
Yeah.
And very quickly that can change. And Snapchat's a great example of that. The growth of the user base in Snapchat is just astronomical in the past year. Whether it's going to stick around or not is another question, but we have to be nimble in social media. So sometimes it is about looking for what's hot now and thinking if there's a way that we can make it useful for us, because it's really about it being useful.
Okay, you know what? Before we talk about the newer ones,
Yeah.
let's talk about the venerated one, Facebook.
Yeah.
Is it really falling out of favor? I mean, I hear a lot of people complaining considerably about their organic reach having declined precipitously on Facebook.
Well, Facebook is changing because Facebook's audience is changing. So Facebook's audience has gotten a lot older. It's one of the fastest age groups growing on Facebook is, in their 60s or older. And so Facebook is adapting to their audience. And they're also adapting to the realities that they need to make money. And so for nonprofits, what we have to do is think about, instead of Facebook being our main channel, it's then one of many. And how are we designing content specifically that can work on Facebook instead of putting out everything we have and being upset that it's not working? And some of that will be about being a little less self-promotional. Facebook is dialing down the self-promotion that it allows people to share. And so if it doesn't let us put that information out, either we have to find somewhere else to put it or we have to put out different information on Facebook.
Do you find your clients questioning
Yes.
Facebook's value?
Yes, absolutely. Part of it is they can see the hard numbers changing. And part of it is that it continues...
Those are the organic reach numbers?
Yeah, the organic reach numbers.
Yeah.
And for smaller numbers, it's requiring more effort. And then there's the question of, well, if I have a limited capacity myself in my organization, where can my time be better spent for better results? I think Facebook still has a value. If you're not on Facebook, it can affect your credibility. People will go, well, are you really serious then if you're not on Facebook or Twitter?
Okay.
But we can dial down our efforts there, make sure the efforts were...
How much we're going to devote to it.
Yeah. And then take that time and spend it in a new way and see if we can find something else to add to our catalog of social media.
Repertoire. All right, so let's talk about some of the newer ones.
Okay.
Tinder.
Yeah.
What's Tinder?
Tinder is a dating app, but it's not like
that's right. I have heard of Tinder. Yes, I don't think
everyone has that reaction. I don't think of it as social media.
Right. Okay. Yes, you swipe left for somebody you like.
Yeah, I can't remember
and then, so you're not on Tinder. Okay.
I'm married. If
okay.
I could
too.
be. But
all right. Well, that's true.
That would be something different.
That's not going to stop you. Maybe not that much different. But, okay, Tinder. So you swipe one way for somebody you want to see, but it's also geolocated.
Yeah.
It's showing you people who are close to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you swipe, and if you both swipe yes, then you get access to message each other through Tinder. So then you can set up a coffee or a date or something else like that. And Tinder, you would think, what good is a dating app for nonprofits?
Yes, I would think that.
How could you possibly use it? But it turns out there are a few nonprofits who have used it really creatively.
So what are they doing?
So one organization used it to match rescue dogs with people in Manhattan. So they put up profiles for rescue dogs, and if you decided that you liked that dog, you could then message the organization and take the dog on a walk or foster it in your home if you weren't sure you were ready to adopt a dog, or straight up adopt the dog. And so they did this fun, small Tinder experiment to figure out if there was a way to use social media like Tinder, not just Tinder, but other dating apps.
That's outstanding. Can you shout out the name of the organization? Do you know who is that?
I do not, but I will tweet it and find it later.
Okay.
It's in my presentation on Friday.
Okay. And I'm kind of surprised that Tinder.com would allow that.
So that's the caveat.
That's actually I applaud them for that. It's admirable.
Well, so that's the caveat. So Tinder has a revenue model. They actually ask people to pay money for their service, and they also have advertising. So this is all considered advertising. So when these channels first come out, Tinder or what have you, there's a kind of a beautiful period where you can get away with a little bit more. And so now it's becoming more formal. So the Gap actually just tried to run a Tinder advertising campaign, and they got shut down because they didn't ask permission. So if nonprofits are looking to do this, you should definitely always check to make sure that you're allowed to have either fake profiles or personas or something like that.
Okay. The Gap just wanted to show people in jeans
Yeah.
or other attire.
And Tinder wanted them to pay.
Yes. Okay. But I do admire that they would allow it. You know, like it's saying that we don't take ourselves all that seriously.
Yeah.
That we won't allow rescue dog matchups.
Yeah, and and even these can be serious topics. There's another organization, Amnesty International. They did a campaign to bring attention to human trafficking on Tinder. It was a very serious campaign.
What did they do? Do you remember how they ran it?
Yeah, there was a series of photos, and the women got, first it was a photo of a beautiful woman, and then the next photo you saw of her, she had some bruises. And then there was another photo where she looked even more abused. And it was about not all women have the same rights as women who are using Tinder. It's very popular in Manhattan, it's very popular in the US, and also a couple of other countries. So it allowed this serious topic to come through, but it made sense when you were seeing it there that not all women get to choose their partner or how their partner treats them or if they want to leave their relationship.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it's a great education
okay.
campaign.
So as far as you know, Tinder is still open to those types of discussions, but with your caveat that you better discuss it with them.
Yeah. Or just be really quick.
Okay. No, we're not,
Don't put out a press release.
We're not recommending underhanded behavior.
No.
Okay.
Never sneaky.
Right. Whisper. What's Whisper about?
So Whisper is one of these gossip apps. So Whisper, Secret, Yik Yak are these apps that you can use to put up an anonymous post, usually text-based, and then you can just complain about something that you have to complain about. You can tell someone else's secrets or one of your own. A lot of people use it when they're feeling isolated or lonely to talk about their deep feelings they would never share on Facebook with people who know who they are.
Yeah.
And these are really interesting apps because it has that anonymity or that perceived anonymity. There's some question on security on these apps, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're none of these apps are doing anything particularly grand, but a lot of them, Yik Yak, for example, is geolocated, and so it's very popular with college students, and so there's a lot of complaining about professors and classes and what's going on campus. And so there are actually very real social conversations happening on some of these. Yik Yak in particular had a lot of college students talking about race during all of the protests that were going on last year. And there's a question of whether or not nonprofits should be part of those conversations happening on these apps.
And are you seeing nonprofits using Secret?
Yeah.
And Yik Yak also?
Yeah. So there's one example, and I believe it's an AIDS organization. I think it was in Ireland that used one of these apps it was Secret, because they were playing on the whole idea of secrets. And what they did was they asked men in their area, because that was their audience, to send a picture in and their name, and then with their permission put their photo and name up on Secret and said, I have HIV and it's no secret, with their name and photo. And so that's kind of turning the tables on Secret.
Yeah.
Really raising awareness about the stigma of living with HIV and AIDS.
I'm sharing my own secret.
Yeah, and it's not a secret, it's actually something that's part of me. And so they wanted to change the narrative about HIV AIDS stigma in their community, and it was really experimental. And a lot of times this experimental stuff gets you good media coverage and gets you really interesting attention. And another example is Yik Yak. When they were having all those problems in race, Colgate University, the professors banded together. So not a nonprofit, but a nonprofit could have been involved in this, and I sometimes think should have. They banded together, and the professors took over Yik Yak.
Well, Colgate is a nonprofit.
The university, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
a good.
We're talking about Colgate here in the
Good
U.S.,
point,
right?
Tony.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Sure they are.
And the professors got together and they took over the conversation and put out more positive messages on the app to overwhelm the conversations around racism that were boiling and boiling. And they decided they wanted to tamp it down, and they used the app in the way it was meant to be used in order to become part of the conversation and to change that conversation as well.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
That was Yik Yak, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Quora. Now,
Yep.
Quora is one that's been around for a few years.
Mhm.
I do very little bit with Quora, but
Mhm.
it's spelled Quora.
Right.
What are you seeing nonprofit potential? What's the potential there?
You know, there's two sides to this. One.
Wait, I have to stop you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's describe what Quora.
Oh.
I'll leave it for you because you'll be more articulate than I am. Let's make sure everybody understands what Quora is.
Quora is one of those question and answer sites. So anyone can go on, make a profile, and post a question. And then the community of Quora participants can answer that question. And they can do it seriously, they can be a little silly, but for the most part, Quora folks take themselves seriously, and it's a professional venue, kind of much like LinkedIn. So people do use it as a point of credibility.
Okay. Okay. And so now the nonprofit potential?
So the nonprofit potential is kind of twofold. So you have the people inside your organization. You have your spokespeople and your leaders, your staff, your board. They can go on and answer questions that are relevant to what your nonprofit's doing. And they can have that personal view, really showing people that your organization has a lot of different messengers. And having those answers come from people inside your organization then speaks to transparency. So you're both building up the credibility of your employees, but then also building up the transparency and credibility of your organization. And Charity Water, which is so often held up as an example of an organization that does things well on social media, actually did this a few years ago, where the CEO went on to Quora and answered people's questions about the organization, which now the tech sector folks are big into Quora and Silicon Valley types. And so Charity Water knew exactly what they were doing. That's one of their audiences. And so getting on there and reaching out directly to those people, one-on-one answers, was a great move on their part and really helped advance their prestige in the community.
So I'm sure you can search for different topics and insert yourself into conversations that you believe your work merits you being in.
Yeah, absolutely. So even if the question isn't about your organization, you can jump right into the conversation. And there are a lot of social chat apps and websites like this. So Reddit, which a lot of people are talking about, has very similar functions. And Tumblr has a Q&A feature as well that organizations I've seen use to answer questions. And one of the nice things about Tumblr is that those questions can be asked anonymously, but then answered publicly. So it's kind of like a Dear Abby column on social media.
I didn't know this feature of Tumblr, this question and answer.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of organizations that work in reproductive and sexual health use this feature because there is that idea that you want some privacy about these questions. You wouldn't go to mom and dad, perhaps. So Planned Parenthood uses this feature, as does Sex, Etc., which is run by Answer out of Rutgers University.
Interesting. Okay. I only know the microblogging feature of Tumblr. And okay. Interesting. So all ways to get your organization in conversations, and also to show that you have people who are relevant. I mean, that could help for media, perhaps, if you're showing that you have expertise and a voice in a subject. Yeah,
media may Google and find an answer in Quora and see that your organization provided that answer, and they might come calling to interview you for an article they're writing. It does establish your credibility and your knowledge on a subject. So within Quora especially, you can answer a lot of questions on a particular tag or subject, and people will start seeing you as an expert in that area.
Yeah. I just learned that tweets are going to start being indexed by Google and searched.
Yeah, they're finally found a happy agreement somehow. Someone must have had a really good meeting.
Has this been in discussion for a long time and they couldn't agree?
So go the rumors. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because everyone wants.
You're an insider, aren't you a social media insider?
I read a lot.
Okay. You're well informed.
Yeah. I'm a sponge for information on this. I have a lot of tabs open in my browsers.
Okay. Oh, so they had been trying, you believe?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
everyone wants to become the next search index. So actually, some of the apps that I'm going to be talking about on Friday, some of them have these aims to become the Google of images, and a lot of them are also trying to cultivate more positive messages to come through in those ways too. So there's fierce competition for being the next hub for these audiences and for search. Facebook has been trying to do that for a while, Twitter as well. Google Plus, which has just changed itself again.
Yeah, Google Plus seems to be struggling.
It seems it has a high user base. They've got a lot of users, but the engagement numbers for that I've seen have been very low. And so just this last week, they've announced some new staff changes and that they're going to be fractioning their Google Plus app into a couple of different services, perhaps to target specific audiences better, look for different types of engagement. So it remains to be seen how and if that can be relevant again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I already have a session from here at NTC on where we talked about Snapchat pretty well and Reddit and Tumblr. Although you brought something up with Reddit that I didn't know. What other sites can we acquaint people with?
Gosh, I wanted to talk about Reddit, but that's my own obsession.
Feed? What about Feed? What about Feed?
Feed and Kick. There's Ask FM. There's for every person there seems to be a new social channel.
Do these three fit together? Ask FM, Feed, and Kick?
No, each one is kind of its own niche. The one that I'm thinking about, which I would love to see nonprofits use, and I haven't seen them use yet, is called Plague.
Okay. Is it spelled Plague?
Yeah, it's actually spelled the way that you think it is. That's such a strange thing for
not
social.
Right. Not like feed, which is PHEED.
Exactly.
All right, so this could be cutting edge and emerging news. Tell us about Plague.
I just think it's really interesting.
Spread the plague.
I'm going to spread the plague about Plague. So Plague is an app that you can use to spread information. So you join, you don't have to create an account. You're immediately part of a network. You don't have to friend people. You are already part of the potential plague. And you can put a piece of information up, and 4 people near you, so it's all about geolocation, can receive that information from you. And they decide whether that information is worth spreading or not. And if they decide it's worth spreading, from that one person, it goes out to 4 more people. And then those people decide if it's worth spreading, and it spreads. This information spreads like a plague.
Exponential and yes, like a plague. Exactly.
So if you put out good information, your information can travel. So if it's something that people like, it can spread as far as the Plague network and users go. So it's still newish. So there's not as many users in some parts of the U.S. and some parts of the world. But if you can get a piece of information out there, it can be very engaging. And I haven't seen a nonprofit use it yet, so I want to see who's going to be first across that line.
Very short pieces of information, or can it be several hundred words, like a blog post, or no, it's not?
It's mobile audiences, so it would be short, and then you can also do images as well. So you can mix it up, but I would keep it short just because the mobile audience tends to have short attention spans.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell us about Plague? Advice for the first brave experimenter?
You're gonna want to hook it to something that's happening now, something that people are talking about now. So whether it's an event or an anniversary, a current event in the news, I wouldn't use the dress that we're all talking about now, the blue and gold or black and blue dress, whatever it was, but something that people are talking about now, because that's going to be the kind of thing that people want to spread, that people want to pay attention to.
Okay, something
so it's about
trending
or timely.
At least current.
Yeah, and you should always think about doing that with your content, because that's really how people spread information, is by whatever they're already interested in.
Okay. Now, I'm out of touch with the black and gold or blue and black. I don't know the dress conversation. I'm not as much of a read. I don't have as many tabs open as you. I have one tab too few, clearly.
Clearly,
What's
yes.
this dress thing?
Oh, there's a photo that went out last week, a few days ago, of a dress, and people were up in arms whether it was a black and blue dress or a white and gold dress or something like that. People were arguing about it, and they
Arguing about the colors of the dress?
Yes, because and then scientists actually started arguing about why we were seeing different colors in this dress.
What is this relevant to anything having to do with anything in the world that's important?
It's not.
It's not. Frivolous.
And no, it's very frivolous, and we are at kind of an ugly stage of frivolity in social media right now, and that dress is sort of being held up as the totem for that ugly frivolity.
You know what? We're going to end it right there with the ugly frivolity of social media. Lauren Girardin, she's terrific. You're great fun. Thank you very much.
Tony.
Marketing and communication strategist. The company is Lauren Girardin Consulting, and this is Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of the Nonprofit Technology Conference 2015. Thank you so much for being with us.